Hello my darlings, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Miranda and I am the Enchantress of Avalon. Today's video is going to focus on birds of goddess, and we are going to specifically be looking at my two favorite birds, crows and owls. Crows are deeply associated with my most beloved goddess, Morgan Le Fay, and owls are very deeply associated with one of my other favorite goddesses, Blodeuwedd. And I'm going to go and break down a little bit of the misconceptions about these birds just being a singular message when we see them in dreams or in meditation. And also, I want to remind people that your personal association with that animal matters if you're looking at this as any sort of communication from a spiritual animal of any sort. So, for instance, I'll start with crows. I have a very positive association with crows. And this surprises some people when I say I see a crow and I see it as a positive omen. I see it as a protective omen. I see it as this is a message from the goddess. I see it as a message of support for me. And I also know the deeper meaning of crows and why I love them so much. They go so much deeper than just being birds that are omens of death, which a lot of people still believe that crows are only omens of death. No. They can be, sure, but even if we're going with the death omen aspect, they rarely signal a physical death. It's similar to the death card in the tarot. It's signaling the death of something so that something new can happen. Death and rebirth are natural parts of life that happen over and over and over again throughout our lives. We just don't always think of it as death. We think of it as, oh, this thing ended and this new thing began. But that is in and of itself a form of death. And that is the more nuanced look at why crows would be associated with death. Because crows are birds associated with the shadow realms, with the unconscious, with digging into your own personal depths to find knowledge and wisdom. They are very psychically associated birds, and again, they're associated with some really powerful goddesses. Crows and ravens are powerfully linked to so many goddesses, especially in Celtic cultures, not just Morgan Le Fay, but the Irish goddess the Morgan, and Bronwyn from Welsh myth as well is literally named White Raven. Her name translates to white raven in English. So we have a link of so many goddesses associated with these particular birds that you can't just put this pall of, oh, they mean death on them. And again, for me, they're so not just birds of death. They are supportive figures. They are nurturing figures, nurturing my journey on spiritual path, my journey into knowing myself better. And I've always really adored them since I was a little girl, when it was kind of strange. Why do you like crows? And when I was little, it was always just, I just do. Or got a little older and started reading Edgar Allan Poe, and I just really loved The Raven, the poem, because it was more accepted to say that was the reason. But there's so many layers to these birds that give me positive connotations. And they are so magical and spiritual birds. And yes, they are associated with magic and witches, beyond just associated with a goddess who's associated with witchcraft. And now let's transition into talking a little bit about owls. Now, owls are normally seen as birds of wisdom, and they are that, but they're also fierce predator birds. And a lot of earlier folklore on them focuses on their predatory nature. And certainly the connection to Blodeuwedd as a goddess focuses on that more predatory aspect of the owl. But her story also works in the wisdom part. So Blodeuwedd was a goddess literally born of flowers, either 3 blooms or 9, depending on the version of her myth you're reading. Different translations state it different ways, but she is born of flowers. She is created by the magicians Math and Gideon. And so she has a lot of those sweet and maiden-like aspects of flowers. She is, of course, given as a wife to Lula Gaifes, and their marriage is pretty happy at first, until she realizes that she doesn't have any sort of personal sovereignty, and that lack of sense of self eats away at her, as does the fact that Lou is always traveling. So when one day, when Lou is yet again away, a hunter who is a nobleman from a neighboring village comes to the court of Blodeuwedd and Lou, because he had been hunting and he accidentally hunted on their lands. And being hospitable, which is what was very important to the Celts and many ancient cultures, hospitality was very important. She invited him to dine at her palace, and they had this dinner, and during the course they fell quite in lust and in love with one another. And that night they slept together, and the 2 nights after that 3 consecutive nights bedding a woman is as good as marriage in medieval Welsh culture, even though Blodeuwedd was already married. But it should be noted that she didn't consent to the marriage, and the woman had to at least consent. That was technically law. So there is a loophole. But instead of trying to annul the marriage, the 2 decide they are going to, of course, try to kill her husbands. So the attempt is made, and as punishment, in some versions he actually dies, in some versions Lou is just badly wounded, turns into an eagle, flies away, and is healed. In any version he's healed, but sometimes he has to actually be resurrected. And when Math and Gideon find out what Blodeuwedd has done, she gets turned into an owl. This is a punishment for her. She was literally a flower goddess who now can't look upon the sun. Flowers need the sun to sustain them. She now can't have the sun on her skin at all, because she's an owl. She's a night bird, a bird of prey, a hunter. And this is, yes, a punishment, but also it's an empowerment, because she's now a bird of prey. She now has that power and that sovereignty that she did not have originally. And she can use this to empower herself greatly. It's a very beautiful thing within this tragedy, is that she now finally has that power that she really needed and wanted, that personal sovereignty, which is why she's considered a sovereignty goddess. And she does gain wisdom. She was born with no knowledge of anything and was very naive and innocent in the beginning. And when she learned, she was able to empower herself. And even her punishment further empowers her, because she's now a bird that's associated with wisdom and with knowledge. So tying it together, both owls and crows do have this knowledge association. For owls, it's wisdom, it's knowledge gained of experience. For crows, it is psychic awareness, it is occult insights, and it is knowledge of the shadow and of going within and finding truth in the depths of the unconscious. It's almost for crows that knowledge is this tap into the collective unconscious, if we want to go with the Jungian phrasing of that, that tap into the greater awareness that we all have. They symbolize that. Okay. I do hope that you've enjoyed this short discussion of the importance of two of my favorite birds, crows and owls, in the spiritual context, and learning a little bit about the mythology surrounding some goddesses associated with them. So if you did like this, please do like, comment, subscribe. Check out my blog, whiteroseofavalon.life, for more content, and maybe even consider getting a tarot or oracle card reading service from me. And all of that is always linked in the description box below, as is my Ko-Fi if you want to support me over there and get access to exclusive video content. I hope you do have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye now.